It is Election Day in America, a big one. We'll break down some of the key races across the country and why they matter.
You know, Willie, it's everybody's been talking about these polls, and really they don't matter other than
races matter.
A snapshot in time, right? And so we can see the trend lines are breaking against the Biden White House. They should be scared as hell. Voters shouldn't be. If they support Joe Biden, they should just register, vote, get their friends to vote. But these elections tonight, they do matter. I mean, they have shown during the Trump era, they have shown Republican failures in 17 led to Republican failures in 18. Republican failures in the off years in 19 led to Republican failures in 20. Same with 21. So Republicans are on a 7-year losing streak. It's going to be interesting whether they can snap that tonight.
Yeah, and what the big snapshot is in the state of Kentucky, where the incumbent Democratic governor, Andy Beshear, is running against the state's attorney general, Daniel Cameron, polling very close there. Beshear won by less than a point in his last election. He's a Democrat in a state that Donald Trump won by 25 or 26 points. Donald Trump has endorsed Daniel Cameron. Both of these guys viewed as stars in the party with big futures ahead of them. So that will be really fascinating to see which way that breaks with Donald Trump coming into that race in support of the Republican.
The Virginia race also going to be really telling to see what happens in a lot of those legislative races. The KATI-K, especially the legislative races in Northern Virginia. There's a Senate seat especially that matters, but also I know you, Mika, and I are looking at the Ohio abortion referendum. That's going to be a fascinating insight to see where voters are in a red state.
Yeah, both Virginia and Ohio are going to be a reflection of how much momentum there is on the abortion side. Democrats, of course, still hoping that abortion is the issue that can mitigate some of that bad polling over the last couple of days for Joe Biden on the age front, on the economy front. They're still hoping that abortion is going to get people to the polls. I've spent a lot of time in Northern Virginia. I'm out there 2 or 3 days a week in one of the key districts, District 31, where you've got a race for the state Senate. There have been yard signs up for months, which suggests there's certainly a lot of enthusiasm. Yard signs on both sides. I'm seeing a lot for the Democrat Russert Perry, a lot for the Republican candidate Segura. Hard to say that one candidate has more up than the other. The only thing I do notice is that for an off-year election, I have not seen this much enthusiasm in the state for a long time. So let's see who gets to the polls.
Well, and Jonathan Lemire, we have seen, especially since Dobbs, just a political earthquake. We've seen it in Kansas. We've seen it in Kentucky. We've seen it in Wisconsin. We've seen it in one red state after another, one state that Trump won in 16 after another. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens tonight again in Ohio, in Virginia, especially in Northern Virginia, in those suburbs. Of course, if Beshear can defy political gravity and win in a state that Donald Trump won by 25 points, Democrats will see that as a massive victory, of course. But I've got to believe the White House, I mean, they're knocking on wood, crossing themselves, throwing salt over their left shoulder. They're doing everything because a Democratic win tonight in a lot of these races, a lot of these states, will completely wipe away any talk of one New York Times Siena College spate of polls. But I will say, if Republicans, and I'll be saying this tomorrow morning, if Republicans win for the first time since 2016, then it really will be time for the Biden White House to batten down the hatches and get ready for a storm ahead.
A number of Democrats said versions of the same thing to me yesterday, that no matter how bad the polls look, what we have seen in the post 2016 era, what happens? Democrats actually win elections. We saw that with the midterms. In 2022. We have seen that in a number of the special elections since then, and certainly abortion rights a big part of that. So yes, there's a lot of concern among Democrats right now, a lot of second guessing about the Biden campaign strategy to this point, how they have not gone after Donald Trump as hard perhaps as they could have. They sort of outsourced that to other Republicans. Primary Trump's primary contenders think that they would take down Donald Trump. They chose not to. They have not attacked him, and we've seen Trump maintain a massive lead. But things could change today. The narrative heading in 1 year out from 2024 could change today on a number of levels. If Governor Beshear were to win, first of all, that also cements him as a rising national star. But certainly Virginia expected to be close. Abortion rights, a big part of that. And then Ohio. And people that I've talked to think that abortion rights will be another victory in Ohio, which would continue that streak and give Democrats momentum and underscore yet again, Joe and Mika, that even as we look at these battleground state polls, abortion choice is going to be such a major issue next year, too, as much as the names Biden and Trump.
Yeah.
You know, these elections can either underscore what these New York Times, the anti-college polls were saying, or completely blow them out of the water. And I just wonder, there were some experts, political experts in the past couple of days who have said, oh, Joe Biden maybe shouldn't run. I just wonder, why don't they wait for real evidence? Isn't this election day, the outcome of it, sort of a great sign of where things are going as opposed to a poll?
Yeah, no, it certainly is. There's some people who have been David Axelrod has been critical of Joe Biden for years. For years. And certainly David is a very friend of ours.
Yeah.
Truth is, though, he's always been critical of Joe Biden, always second-guessed him. So there are people that are second-guessing him. But I will say what David Axelrod is saying out loud, a lot of Democrats are saying quietly. There's no doubt about it, but we've talked about this time and again. Joe Biden was doubted when he first announced in 2019. He was doubted throughout 2019. He was mocked and doubted after Iowa. He was mocked and doubted after New Hampshire. He was mocked and doubted after Nevada. Everybody said he needed to drop out of the race. And then South Carolina came. And then he swept through and he won. Then he was too old. He was running from the basement. There was no way he was going to beat Donald Trump. He beat Donald Trump. Then he was too old, blah, blah, blah. 2022, we were supposed to have a red wave. Instead, it was really an extraordinary night, a historic night for Democrats, a historic night for Joe Biden. I think he was the first president since FDR, a first-term president whose midterm election went the way it did, as far as no governors of his party losing. You can keep going on and on about, and then after that, it's like, okay, well, maybe he's good. Then it's like, no, he's too old. Then he delivers the State of the Union address. And that's way. So,
let's see.
Again, Joe Biden's been underestimated his entire life. He's being underestimated now. This is not a smart, not smart bet to bet against him. But if people want to, they can, certainly. Yeah. That's their right. I will say, just following up, though, Willie, on what John just said, like the Biden White House is actually debating whether Joe Biden should attack Donald Trump or not. This reminds me of 1988. And Michael Dukakis saying, I'm not going to answer those Bush attacks, saying I'm unpatriotic, while he's going to flag factories all over the country. And Dukakis he kept mowing his lawn with his push mower going, I'm not going to, I'm not going to answer those attacks. You got to answer those attacks. And like whoever inside the White House is telling Joe Biden not to attack Donald Trump, stop it. Seriously, stop it, all right? And maybe start a lawn service with push lawnmowers, because you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're costing the president. You really are. You're costing him points. This is a political battle to the end. Donald Trump is trying to destroy Joe Biden. I'm not exactly sure, Willie, who inside the White House is saying, hey, when you go up against the champ, Mike Tyson in 91, Muhammad Ali in 73, you should fight by Marcus of Queensberry rules. No, you got to go after him. No holds barred. And yet, Willie, they're still trying to debate. Do we play nice in this campaign, or do we actually take it to a guy that stole nuclear secrets, has been accused of being a rapist by a New York judge, and has 91 felony counts against him charged? It's not hard. I don't think this is hard. And I'm not sure who inside the White House is making this hard.
Well, it goes without saying that Donald Trump's not going to fight fair. He's going to go nuclear whenever he has the chance, and he's doing that every day. Did it yesterday outside the courtroom. The case from the White House, as Jonathan knows, is we're going to run on our record. But you can do both. You can say, hey, the economy's pretty good. Here's why. And you can also say the guy I'm running against might tear down the democracy, and here's why what he's saying about me is false. Two things at once, as we like to say on the show.